Okay, so I'd like to just welcome everybody that's part of the Cooley Ridge Temple and Family History Correlation Group. And we're just going to get started with our questions. And I'd like to ask you, Rob, as a member of the bishopric, there was a letter sent out last May about Temple and Family History work. And I'd like you to just tell us a bit about what's happening in your ward with regards to that.
Well, as far as what our ward is really focused on or really wanting to do is we really want to facilitate or help the ward achieve the stake goal. This year, the stake goal was or is that each member find a ancestor, a name, and then get that name ready to bring to the temple. And whether they bring it to the temple themselves or ask someone else to act as proxy, bring that name to the temple. And so as a ward, we really want to stick along with that goal. And to facilitate the members doing that, we want each member to be comfortable with being able to access Family Search, have an account available to them that they know how to log into and how to find a name, and then ultimately to print that name off. So our goal is really the same as the state goal. It's more of the pre-step to that goal in being able to find a name, print it off, and make sure that that name can make its way to the temple.
That's wonderful. Brother McLean, you're new at as the ward Temple and Family History lead, right?
Yes.
What do you see as your vision?
To encourage those in leading positions to be personally involved in this work, so that by example, they can instill testimony in those who they lead. And then that to filter down and to inspire those in the ward to do this work. I feel that without a consistent effort, which of course involves time and sometimes it involves money as well, it's not going to work. My wife and I have been doing family history for over 50 years. And the important thing with this that we found is to be consistent. And rather than throw a bucket of water on this issue, it is better to maintain a steady drip. But of course, a little higher rate would be preferable to a drip. And what we found is that you have to maintain connection with the work and with the threads of your family history. And if you stop doing the work, then those threads are lost. And it's much harder to reconnect. And that's what we want to try to do in the ward, to try to encourage the leaders to maintain this constancy of that effort. And then by example, inspire the other members of the ward to follow suit. And
I love that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And of course, the family history consultants play a very important part in this role.
That sounds
That's
great.
wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Anna, how do you see your role as a counselor in the Relief Society in these coordination meetings, and in like the purpose of these meetings is who can we help and how can we help? How do you see your role as a Relief Society in this work?
Yes, I think those are the two important questions. Like you said, who can we help and how can we help them? And like Brother McLean mentioned, we want everyone to come together and to inspire one another. One thing that we've talked about is in our ministering interviews as a presidency, as we're able to contact each of the sisters, if we can ask them how they're doing with their temple and family history work, and also if they maybe need to be connected with a consultant, we can help to facilitate that. We can find out where people are on their own journey of family history and to help move them along that, to get them in contact with a consultant or help them along the way. Another thing that we've started to do in our Relief Society lessons is we share a family history highlight at the beginning, we call it. And so we just invite sisters to share an experience that they've had with family history and temple work, or maybe something unique that they're doing in their family or in their own work that will help to inspire one another. And so I think those things together we can really reach the who and the how and help us all move forward as a ward.
If
Okay,
it would be okay if I could just jump in and kind of talk about the elders quorum as well, because I know the elders quorum representative isn't here today, but
sure.
as a ward council, we've spent a lot of time talking about the new members, those that are preparing to go to the temple. And we talked about these names with the presidency or the president during ward council. And our ward has been blessed to have, we had just confirmed, it was 6 baptisms that we had last year in our ward. It's a lot of baptism for our ward, more than we normally have in a year. But most of those individuals have moved out of the ward. But in that same time period, we've had almost an equal number of people move into the ward who are new baptized members as well. And so as a ward, we've been focusing on looking at what their needs are. They need a friend, they need a job, they need opportunities to do temple and family history work. And we've talked about these names with the presidents, and know that will filter down through what the Elders Quorum and the Relief Society is doing, is getting these people involved with their own work, going to the temple for themselves, as several of them are starting or looking at doing temple prep. But they also will then have the opportunity to do that work for their own ancestors.
Thank you. So Brother McLean, you can see the leadership's already starting to take this into effect. We'd like to get some of the youth involved. Charlie, can you share an experience of how you've been involved in temple and family history work?
I've just been doing a lot of memories with my sister on the app, and it's been really cool to see. Like, I've been seeing like some pictures of like my great grandparents, like when they're growing up and their families, and it's really cool to see like what their parents look like and what their siblings look like and how that looks. And then when you do family history, you can like see a face, and it's really cool.
That's great. Thank you. And what about you, Sophie? Is there any way that you've been involved in this?
Well, before COVID, we would, like me and my cousins and our extended family, we'd go to my grandma and grandpa's house, and they would put together like a little script, and then my little cousins and my brothers, and they would like memorize little parts and then dress up like our ancestors, and then they kind of acted out some important parts of their lives to help us remember easier than just reading a little bit about them.
That's super cool. And you can take those ideas, both of you guys can take those ideas back to your young women, right? And maybe they'll say, how do I do this? How do I do that? At the beginning of a meeting, I know at the very beginning of one of your meetings, you can say, hey, look what I did. Randy, how have you felt connected to your ancestors, and do you have anything that you'd like to share with us about the work of family history work?
Well, yes, I've really enjoyed doing family history work to get to know the people that my ancestors, there are people that really I knew nothing about or nothing of. And through doing family history work, and particularly using the resources available through Family Search, I've been able to learn about members of my family that are their experiences are very inspiring, and it demonstrates their faith. And sometimes you also see the challenge that some of them have experienced in their personal lives, and you wonder, why did this happen, or why did they turn around and go back? One family member I've been doing research on joined the church. They made it to Nauvoo. They made it to winter quarters, and then they went back east. And I was hoping that they hadn't lost their testimony. And in doing research on them, I now kind of understand what happened in their lives. I understand their challenges, and I also learned some things that I need to be cognizant of and careful of so that that doesn't happen in my own life.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you all for sharing that. This has been a fabulous experience. And you can tell that the spirit of Elijah is truly alive in your ward. And I think you can expect some wonderful things to be happening there. So Sister Wilson, is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Well, I know that President Nelson has said that when we do and are engaged in family history work, it increases our ability to hear him. And I'm sure that you've had experiences like that, hearing him when we figure out who our ancestors are and we know a little bit more about them. Just being directed. Faith, you've probably, and maybe you might not be able to recall one right now, but have you had spiritual experiences? Have you heard him from doing family history work?
Well, it's been amazing sometimes the things I have found accidentally, supposedly accidentally. You're just sort of, if you're in tune, you're just sort of guided to look for a certain record or look to a certain place, and you find what you're looking for. So I guess that is hearing him. We're being led to what we need to do. So that's about all I can say, is I just hope it continues. I have had a lot of help. I'm sure there's people on the other side of the veil that are helping me do this.
Truly is gathering Israel on both sides of the veil.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Thank you guys so very much.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, and we appreciate you sharing your experiences.